Please be advised that the following video contains Nazi rhetoric. I do not support Nazi ideology in any way, shape, or form and condemn it wholeheartedly. If you feel disturbed by any such rhetoric, please feel free to click off the video at any time. If you do not feel disturbed by such rhetoric, I implore you to please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and follow me on Twitch. And enjoy the video. Hello, everybody. Well, time to start. Prologue. What if I said that one's entire life had been decided by fate? That every single one of your actions, from the minute to the module, stem not from your own choices, but had already been decided upon. That life, being a journey of limitless possibilities, was but an illusion, and no matter how fiercely man struggled, he stood at the mercy of a long-established path. The wealthy shall know their riches, the needy shall starve on the streets, and the wicked shall be wicked, the righteous just. The beautiful, the hideous, the strong, the frail, the fortunate, the miserable, and finally, the victors and the defeated. What if I said that all such things had been carved into stone eons ago, allowing for no divergence? If so, then sinners have nothing to answer for, nor do saints have any virtue to their name. What if I said that not a single action is carried out of one's own volition, but had been decided long ago? That we are merely adrift in the current of time? Tell me, would you feel content with such a world? A world in which power is merely given, not earned. Would you accept knees bent to a throne built upon such falsities? A universe where the sinless have-nots are oppressed and downtrodden. Would you allow such a world to exist? Never, I say. Never. Those in possession of such knowledge who can still laugh joyfully, oblivious of what it means to be truly alive, are but slaves, at the lowest of the low, hardly deserving to be called human beings. Nothing damages the spirit like the stale wine of an unearned victory. Nothing is more unbearable than bitter defeat against the chains of destiny. Should ceaselessly repeating this farce, this slander of the highest order, be the fate of mankind, then I will struggle against those chains with all my might. I shall walk this road to its utmost conclusion, and at the distant place I call my finale, compose an opera that belongs only to me, and so I require your aid, my dear ladies and gentlemen. You, the oppressed, the downtrodden, the massacred, you who once were as brethren. You were born to be defeated, to be massacred till the end of times. Should you curse that fate of yours, come and stand at my side as comrades. If 100 battles yield no victory, fight 1,000. If 1,000 battles yield no victory, fight 10,000. Vow to struggle for an eternity, ceaselessly, till the light of victory finally shines upon you. Any that has the strength to do this shall be permitted to be a means to an end, a part of the sorcery. All in order to claim eternal victory. The mane of the beast, each and every strand of it, shall be from your flesh and blood. You are blessed to be as such. Although I, you, and he as well are still bound by that miserable cycle at this moment. Let us believe that the decision we are about to make truly holds a meaning. That one day we can break free from this perpetually repeating cycle. My dear ladies and gentlemen, defeated souls of the present age, I await your answer. Will you rise to battle? May 1st, 1945, Berlin, Germany. 12:27 a.m. I'm sorry, but is there any volume? Cutting, BGM, normal, save, window, character display, text. Oh my god, the master volume was off. Never mind, title. Hey Themos. I just did the prologue of this game, and I noticed I didn't have the volume on, so I have to redo all of it. But guess what? You get to be here from the beginning, so yay! Anyway, how you been? What if I said that one's entire life had been decided by fate? That every single one of your actions, from the minute to the moment, stemmed not from your own choices, but had already been decided upon. That life being a germinate of limitless possibilities was but an illusion, and no matter how fiercely man struggled, he stood at the mercy of a long-established path. The wealthy shall know their riches, the needy shall starve on the streets, the wicked shall be wicked, the righteous just. The beautiful, the hideous, the strong, the frail, the fortunate, the miserable, and finally the victors and the defeated. What if I said that all such things had been carved into stone eons ago, allowing for no divergence? If so, then sinners have nothing to answer for, nor do the saints have any virtue to their name. What if I said that not a single action is carried out of one's own volition, but had been decided long ago? That we are merely adrift in the current of time? Tell me, would you feel content with such a world? A world in which power is merely given, not earned. Would you accept knees bent to a throne built upon such fantasies? Oh no, falsities. A universe where the sinless have-nots are oppressed and downtrodden. Would you allow such a world to exist? Never. I say never. Those in possession of such knowledge who can still laugh joyfully, oblivious what it means to truly be alive, are but slaves, the lowest of low, hardly deserve to be called human beings. Nothing dampens the spirit like the stale wine of an unearned victory. Nothing is more unbearable than bitter defeat against the chains of destiny. Should ceaselessly repeating this farce, this slander of the highest order, be the fate of mankind, then I will struggle against those chains with all my might. I shall walk this road to its utmost conclusion, and at the distant place I call my finale, compose an opera that belongs only to me, and so I require your aid, my dear ladies and gentlemen. You, the oppressed, the downtrodden, and the massacred. You, who were once as brethren. You were born to be massacred till the end of times. Should you curse that fate of yours, come and stand at my side as comrades. If 100 battles yield no victory, fight 1,000. If 1,000 battles yield no victory, fight 10,000. Vow to struggle for an eternity, ceaselessly, till the light of victory finally shines upon you. Any that has the strength to do shall be permitted to be a means to that end, a part of the sorcery. All in order to claim eternal victory. The mane of the beast, each and every strand of it, shall be from your flesh and blood. You are blessed to be as such. Although I, you, and he as well are still bound by that miserable cycle at this moment. Let us believe the decision we are about to make truly holds a meaning. That one day we can break free from this perpetually repeating cycle. My dear ladies and gentlemen, defeated souls of the present age, I await your answer. Will you rise to battle? May 1st, 1945, Berlin, Germany. 12:27 a.m. The closing act of the Second World War was the manifestation of total war, such as never been seen before. No, the term carnage would have been more appropriate. Outmanned in every way, Berlin stood in complete isolation, slipping toward the crevice of annihilation. The nearly 500,000 troops marching under the banner of the Red Army had already surrounded the capital, making escape virtually impossible. Guns roaring, mingling with the screams of the dying in an incessant cacophony of terror as the city was razed and its people massacred. Bloodshed, carnage, all in order to eradicate the enemies of this world, be they young or old, man or woman. Justice, revenge, love, peace, oppression, liberty, equality. The slogan of one chose to attach to the horror made little difference. The chaos engulfing the bloody streets demonstrated quite readily the atrocities that would manifest when man was presented with a convenient higher cause to justify them with. Yes, for example, in this corner of the city, a blinding light flashed, followed by a roaring explosion. This latest bombardment set even more soldiers. At least 3 whole silhouettes were still recognizably human to their deaths, spreading their remains across the pavement. Bastards! Letting out a loud curse, a man leapt out of the trenches with Panzerfaust in hand. Protected by the covering fire of his ally Schmeisers, he dashed over into effective firing range. He rose to his knees, took aim, and pulled the trigger, firing a heat warhead. The projectile shot forward, smashing right into the flank of a tank. Its armor dissolved in accordance with the Newman effect, and the tank imploded in a torrent of liquefied metal and 1,000-degree flames. The man tossed aside his Panzerfaust, and backed by his comrades from behind, started cleaning up his remaining foes with his Mauser. Such was war. It allowed no time for idle thoughts. Only slaughter, murder, and bloodshed. No man could keep his sanity in this hell. And so the perpetrators of this chaos howled in rage, never looking back, reveling in boundless insanity to keep their blood afire. Within this flaming wasteland of gunplay, soldiers single-mindedly continued their murderous dance as if it was some ungodly ritual. Of course, in reality, it was all but child's play. Soldiers against soldiers, rifles against pistols. No matter how fiercely they fought on this battlefield, the outcome of this war was already set in stone. The Third Reich had crumbled, the ambitions of its visionary leader lost in the flames of war. What remained on the tattered battlefield was the shaken remnants of the defeated, and the mob of the victors flocked like vultures to the smell of decaying flesh. Certain death, inescapable defeat. Any attempt to retaliate was merely a self-serving act of revenge, with no hope of salvation. The situation had surpassed anything that might elicit notions of despair, transforming into no more than an absurd comedy of sorts. And yet, kill them, kill them, kill them all. His heart beat still, his hand gripped steel. He would not stop so long as there were enemies to kill. For it was his sworn duty. If there existed even one thing, anything at all, to justify this hellfire, be it sheer insanity, then that by itself would have been a blessing in disguise. Horror and glory debased and disgraced, worthless than pig shit. And yet human life remained the cheapest currency. That was reality. Is this all that's left of us, after wiping out all leftover foes and regrouping with his comrades, it dawned upon the man that there were only 3 of them left standing, himself included. The company tasked with protecting this block had been completely... Nice to see you, Log. How are you doing? The company tasked with protecting this block had been completely annihilated. The situation was anything but promising, and still more enemies were on their way. What about our Panzerfaust? You just used the last one, Master Sergeant. This is the end for us. The war is lost. The young man flashed a bitter smile as he handed over his Schmeiser to the other. The older man glared at him, but offered no more in the way of reproach. The war is lost, indeed. That was the bitter truth of it. Berlin had fallen, the company massacred, and the remaining 3 soon to join them. Well, not that it mattered at this point. Would be nice if we could at least go out with a bang, though. It's not like we've anywhere to flee. Your name, soldier? Joachim Bronner. What about you, sir? Walter Gerlitz. I suppose we'd all rather know the names of the men we'll be dying with. You there. The Master Sergeant, Walter Gerlitz, directed his gaze at the final survivor of the company, a young boy who thus remained silent. I believe a Schmeiser is like a German gun. I can search it up real quick. Let me backlog. Schmeiser. Yeah, it's a gun. It's a German gun. Your name? The boy, eyes starting as he failed to hide his shock, was even younger than Joachim, barely in his teens. If Walter had a son, he might have been around the same age. Marco Schmidt, sir. I see. Walter was about to ask what a mere child was doing there, but ultimately swallowed his words. It was a foolish question. The enemy would show no mercy to them, not even to children. The reason for it was very clear. They were bitter enemies of the Red Army, the despised members of the Schutzstaffel. Even if they were to surrender, the Soviets were doubtlessly uninterested in taking them as prisoners. As such, fighting until their last breath was the only option left to them. Walter was certain that Joachim was ready to give his life for the fatherland. The boy, on the other hand, what will become of Berlin, no, of Germany, after the war is lost? Well, currently, Saguaro, we're in the middle of World War II Germany as the Soviets are invading. And what of our friends and families? You're asking the wrong man. It's always the same shit. The victors will paint us as inhuman monsters and mete out whatever justice they deem appropriate. Give me a break. Joachim shed his disaffected act, the bitter tone in his voice making his true position on the situation clear. My mother and sister lived in Dresden, but they got caught in the bombing. Never so much as found a piece of them, and they call us monsters. Ridiculous. We were merely fighting to protect our fatherland, and yet those bastards, who the hell do they think they are? You are Nazis, though. You are Nazis. Like, you did murder a bunch of Jews. He would never surrender, yet even if he gave his life in the battle to come, the outcome of the war had already been decided. Nothing could change that, least of all himself. With this defeat, their fatherland and their descendants would. A single soldier was powerless to alter the great current of a war. Joachim tried to express his dissatisfaction with that reality as best he could, while Marco silently listened. So if I have nothing else left, at least... Several rifle shots echoed from their left just then. Walter and Margot just barely managed to duck into cover, but Joachim was not so fortunate. His head was shot clean off by the first wave, followed by an entire volley of bullets being unloaded into his chest. God damn it. Pelted by machine gun fire, Joachim's body contorted in a queer manner, almost reminiscent of some form of dance before finally hitting the ground. An anticlimactic finale indeed for the youth who had only moments prior expressed his desire to fight to the bitter end. But such was the reality of the situation, the reality of war. There were no heroes here, no messiahs or miracles to save them, only men dying like insects. And should one allow his soul to be overcome by wrath or despair when confronted with this knowledge, it would serve only to invite the jaws of death to consume him next. The chaos of war would not tolerate idle thoughts. Knowledge of one's duty was all that is necessary. Schmidt, answer me, Schmidt. As Walter rose into the safety of a ruined building, he shouted the name of his lone surviving comrade with all the strength he could muster. But instead of words, the sole reply he received was yet another flash, followed by a fiery explosion. The upper half of the young boy's body was flung at Walter's feet. The cramped alleyway was heavy with the stench of blood and scorched entrails. Walter powerlessly dropped to his knees into the vast sea of blood. Ah, Sergeant Major, forgive me for not being of more use. Margot smiled. Even as the last embers of his life faded away, it was unbelievable someone could still form words in a state such as this. Walter took the boy's hand. I don't want to die. If I die here, then what would have been fighting for all this time? Sir, please tell me, are we monsters? Berlin and Germany? You mustn't talk. As the gunfire continued, a brand new tank rolled onto the battlefield. Marcus Schmidt was beyond help. Not even God could save him now. And so, Walter's rightful place now was on the battlefield, his hand clutching a gun and not the hands of a dying soldier. His ears lent not to the naive, parting remarks of a boy, but trained to hear the breathing of his enemy. He knew that better than anyone, and yet, have we committed sins? Does that make our punishment? It's just, does that make this our punishment? I know there is no pride in war and murder, but we, Joachim, Walter, and so many other German soldiers just like them had done nothing more than take up arms to protect their fatherland and loved ones. This is actually a point I want to make while playing this game. Yeah, it's kind of a big thing how, like, a lot of people don't consider, like, when we think about wars, we just think about the whole overarching thing, like, just, like, we always think of, like, Hitler and, like, Stalin and all that. We never think about, like, the guys who were just kind of dragged into stuff unwillingly. Yeah. Was that truly a sin? Surrounded by the flames of the dying capital, the young boy spoke in more disjointed fragments, voicing a question Walter himself would have loved to pose to the heavens above. Most likely. Yet after mere seconds of doubt, Walter answered curtly, "Waging war is no sin, losing a war is." Such was the way of the world, a cruel, bitter truth. Walter found within himself a growing resentment for the Lord. I see. I'd like to win our next one then. Marco Schmidt then quietly passed away in Walter's arms, the man gazing up to the heavens, the young soldier's smile in death, albeit tainted with blood and mud, still held traces of boyhood. Worry not, Schmidt Bronner. A bitter smile mirroring Marco's crept onto Walter's face. We will claim the next one. If not, then the next one. Or the one after that. Even if we are doomed to repeat this outcome a million times before knowing victory. His words might have seemed the ramblings of a lunatic beset by the armies of death. But they were more than that. Walter cocked his Schmeisser, confirmed it was loaded, then charged out of the ruined building into the open. I'm not saying that line! He unconsciously let out a battle cry loud enough that it threatened to rend his throat. Would he end up gunned down like Joachim, or share the same fate as Marco? It hardly mattered anymore. Either way, he'd merely die a miserable death befitting this miserable war. His mind was occupied by such despair thoughts. In no way could he have predicted what was to come next. Pater noster qui in calis et sancto. Oh, wait. Oh, it has the English translation above it. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Grant them eternal rest, O Lord, and may everlasting light shine upon them. It was his soldier's intuition that drove Walter to reflexively take shelter. His vision was drowned out by a blinding white light, an explosion so fierce it dwarfed all previous bombardments, an explosion that seemed to rip apart the very heavens. Walter realized that this explosion was far beyond the level of any weapon that could have possibly been employed in urban warfare. What in the world had happened? The city he had literally staked his life to protect had been reduced to a charred wasteland. Although it took quite a while for Walter to regain his sight and hearing, there was still not enough time for him to make sense of the situation. Part of him wondered if it was all a sick joke. Only one thing was clear. Both his allies' corpses and the encroaching enemy troops had been annihilated. No bombing raid could have inflicted such immense damage, and although Walter had managed to survive the attack itself, his resulting wounds were deep. Ugh. Pieces of steel and concrete blasted in his direction by the explosion had pierced his back and flank. The hands that once held his Schmeitzer was blown off from the elbow. It wasn't even worth the effort to attempt to discern the number of more minor injuries. His incessant bloody vomit told him that he had suffered severe internal damage. He would not make it. Fuck. Walter swore blindly, no longer certain of the target of his indignation. Just then, the voice from before rang out again. Hear my prayer, O Lord. To you all flesh shall come. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for the Lord hath dealt bountifully with thee. It was a requiem offered up to fallen soldiers. One sung in a beautiful voice. Not even a prestigious church choir could produce a melody quite this dignified. Yet at the same time, the scorn seeping into the voice was all too evident. Only upon the eve of the apocalypse itself could such a voice be conceived of as an angel's. It sung of the dead with scorn, ridicule, and mockery, driving the utmost pleasure in trampling upon every last remnant of the dignity they possess. The voice of a destroyer, intoxicated by mayhem. This was the product of a black mind, possessed solely by an inhuman malice. Grant them eternal rest, O Lord, and may everlasting light shine upon them. So, currently we're from the perspective of one of the Nazis. And so, stepping onto the vast expanse of debris, the destroyer appeared, that demonic requiem at his lips. It was a young boy, lacking in years even in comparison to Marco, and with a face so delicate that a careless glance could easily mistake his features for those of a girl's. A single look at the boy was enough to give Walter chills. His teeth began to chatter. I know, I too would be scared in the face of a Nazi femboy. Although he had lost a considerable amount of blood and his vision had grown hazy, the reason behind that freezing chill at his back lay elsewhere. The sheer enmity and bane radiating from the boys of his age indeed contributed to that. But to Walter, the most dreadful thing was the fact he knew that face. There lived no man who'd fought on the Eastern Front and knew not of this boy. A beast possessed by an insatiable hunger, his aberrant mind ruled by inhuman madness, his single eye gleamed, silver locks swaying. He gripped a pair of guns, each engraved with a wolf symbol, the rune of the wolf. There was no doubt, it was a face Walter could never forget, the face of a boy who had supposedly died 3 years ago. Major Schreiber. Eastern Front Assault Corps Special Unit Leader, SS Major Wolfgang Schreiber. An unchained beast that slaughtered both friend and foe, the ashen demon that had supposedly met his end during a purge. How could he be standing here? Ah, if it isn't Major Walter Gerlich. I sure caused trouble for you and the rest of the Einsatzgruppen, didn't I? You doing well? Hardly the words one would offer a dying comrade, especially one whose death was most likely caused by Schreiber himself. The boy flashed an innocently devilish smile in front of Walter. Flashing an innocently devilish smile in front of Walter was no doubt the very same person he remembered. And yet, his armband bore not the swastika, but a different symbol altogether, almost as he was as if he were no comrade at all. Why are you here? Do I need a reason? I'm here because I'm a soldier, much like yourself. War is our profession, murder our currency. Though a boy playfully surveyed the landscape, it was proof enough of his statement, and what followed was nothing short of unnatural. Something akin to a opaque vapor erupted in their vicinity, like a fog or a haze. At the same time, Walter's senses were assaulted by a dreadful moaning. These were the cursed cries of the fallen, fated to suffer and lament until the very end of time. This endless course of lamentation caused even the seething air of the battlefield to cool. These were the spirits of the dead. Walter felt like he could almost make out the faces of Marco and Joachim among the swirling mass, as well as the destination towards which they were spiraling. Straight into Schreiber's token cough eye patch. He was devouring the very souls of those he had slain. Confronted with such a repulsive, unworldly spectacle, Walter could not determine whether he should give himself over to rage or simply weep. He longed for the response of insanity. Well then, my dear Master Sergeant, time for me to take off. How about you? Schreiber, seemingly done with his meal, warily turned his neck to Walter. He was breathing his last, not in any condition to spill blood like a soldier should. Do you not hunger for more? Of course, killing even 100 or thousands of the Reds won't change anything at this point, but that doesn't mean you need to sit there and watch things crumble. Look around you. Look at your Berlin. Is this the end of our glorious empire, foretold to stand strong for 1,000 years? Who would be seriously content with this? Content? No one, right? Walter threw a piercing glance at the smiling boy. Indeed, no one in their right mind would be content with such an outcome. He'd had friends to call his own, a family to go home to, a woman to love. He cherished this country. All that became tainted due to Germany's defeat, dishonor that no centuries could wash clean. That was unforgivable, right? Those repugnant lowlifes tore down our walls and trampled upon our great capital, killed our children, raped our women, hanged our elders. My dear Master Sergeant Walter Gerlitz, sworn and loyal blade of the German army, I ask you, what do you desire? The amount of blood leaked forth from Walter's mouth made speech difficult, but his feelings were set. Joachim, who vowed to fight till the bitter end, Marco, who wished for victory, their feelings as well as his own. The boy standing before him was unmistakably from the fold of the devil, but such things mattered little at this point. What he wanted was, I want to emerge victorious. Victory, honor, and glory for the fatherland, to bring peace for friends and family that had fallen, to bring prosperity for generations yet unborn, and above all else for his very own soul. That is correct, Master Sergeant. What a wonderful display of will and bravery. You deserve the honor of becoming his flesh and blood. This war will never end. We will not allow it. We will repeat it again and again and again and again. Grant us victory. Let us journey together to our endless battlefield, till victory is in our hands. We shall claim victory in the next war, if not in the one after that. Hundreds and thousands and millions of battles repeating over and over again, till this outcome can finally be toppled. Schreiber thrust his Mauser in Walter's direction, as the last light of the man's soul began to fade. Grant them eternal rest, O Lord, and may everlasting light shine upon them. His requiem was one of scorn for the fallen, pregnant with malicious intent, and yet Walter thought it beautiful, like the song of an angel. It was then he finally realized that this was the apocalypse, and that he soon joined the ranks of those marching to destroy the world. He would become a strand of the beast mane, one of many in his legion. The boy gazed to the heavens and offered up a spitting cackle, his silver hair dancing. The soul of Walter Gerlitz was sucked into the boy's blood-crazed eye and vanished. At the same time, in another place, a new nightmare was unfolding. An entire battalion of at least a dozen tanks had failed to bring down a single man. No, an entire battalion of tanks was being destroyed by a single man. In the center of the supernatural maelstrom stood a somber specimen of a man, darker than the blackest of nights. Beneath his neatly worn uniform stretched a body of steel trained to the utmost limit, a perfect fusion of the sort of artistry found in the great sculptures of antiquity and raw martial prowess. A man wielded nothing, not even a short blade. He fought with his fist alone. But they were all that he needed to sunder the armor of a tank, as if it were nothing more than a scrap of paper. Needless to say, no mere man could hope to imitate this display. He's a monster. Indeed, he was a monster, or if not, a weapon taking human form, a fortress upon the battlefield. Either way, the Soviet forces were dealing with an inhuman soldier, a being exceeding human boundaries. Fired at will. Furthermore, the towering beast of a man had yet to so much as attempt to evade any of the artillery fire being leveled upon him. Even after being pelted by countless bullets and tank shells, his body remained unscathed. However, that was only natural. For everyone knew this man, this strength in his name, knew that he was a hero who had died a year before, and he was dead, and what was dead could not be killed. The man let out a deep breath. His overflowing will melted the surrounding rubble into toxic waste, blasting it afar with a gust of burning wind. His tightened muscles expanded to their extremes, as if longing for release. A hammer of steel. There existed nothing in this universe that could withstand the blow he was prepared to unleash. The energies gathered in his fist gave birth to refraction, causing the very visage of the man to distort. But as the man finished swelling up with energy and was about to unleash destruction, his fierce concentration suddenly lit up, just as it was about to reach critical mass, almost as if something had ruined his mood. Perhaps he thought the panicked soldiers, having lost their morale, were not even worth killing. Then had those soldiers miraculously escaped the jaws of death? Or are you confused about Themos? Of course not. What in this world could surpass the thrill of the hunt? The song of the cruel huntress echoed across the night. A scorching wave of pure flame passed by the man, devouring the soldiers, burning them to cinders. This was clearly no ordinary weapon. It was destructive force far exceeding the power of Molotov cocktails or tank fire. It was more akin to a pulse of concentrated energy from a nuclear blast, as impossible as that seemed, than any urban weapon. Otherworldly screams of pure agony reverberated throughout the war-torn battlefield, now engulfed by a sea of flames. The soldiers, assailed by the instantaneous burst of fire, had evaporated without a trace, but the hate-filled screams of their souls rang out into the night. This was the same phenomenon that Schreiber had conjured up with just a moment earlier. What a bore. How utterly frail. What value is there in partaking of the souls of such miserable vermin? It was uncertain for how long the woman had been standing back to back with the somber man. Her tone was grim and bereft of joy, her visage deep crimson, her swaying hair the color of fresh blood and hellfire. She would possess a certain calculating beauty, were it not for the gruesome burn marks covering the left half of her face. As such, her visage evoked only a grim awe born from a marriage of the fair and the repugnant. "Do you have something to say to me, hero? You certainly do not look pleased." Gracefully letting forth a puff of cigarette smoke, the woman posed a question to the man at her back. No answer came. "Well, do as you please. At least this return is in balance when combined with the trigger-happy run. I couldn't care less about you, your warrior's honor, or whatever you wish to call it, but do continue upholding it if it pleases you so much. The Soviets must have their way with this place. If you understand that overindulgence and inaction are sins of equal value, then I have nothing further to say. Or perhaps you're trying to hold yourself back, since you know you won't stop until everything in your path is annihilated once you've cast off your chains. If that is indeed the case, then I can empathize with you. No one could be blamed for mistaking the Crimson Woman's words for those of a lunatic. No sane person would speak as if they were capable of destroying the entire Red Army surrounding Berlin on a whim. His Excellency the Führer has passed. The resting of the preachers of lies and foolish dreamers will soon join him, and the city shall fall, taking countless brethren and citizens along. Truly a fitting sacrifice to offer up for the trial creation of the Ark of the Covenant. The lives of 10 countrymen are heavier and more meaningful than the lives of 1,000,000 enemies. Such is human nature. I suppose you're feeling very conflicted about that knowledge. Well, take your time. Agony is yet another form of offering. Samuel. The man finally spoke. Where is Mercurius? What? What business do you have with him? Silence again. The man failed to answer. The woman narrowed her eyes, her gaze heavy with suspicion, before letting loose an exasperated sigh. Refusing to answer again, huh? I know they say men should stay their tongues, but you take it too far. Surely you're not planning to pick a fight with that aberration. I'll tell you right now, leave that idea behind. It's nonsense. Nothing can kill that. Well, I suppose one could easily dispose of him depending on how you look at it, but... In any case, he is our superior, and a sworn friend to our leader. If you harbor any intent to rebel, I would advise you forget it right this instant. I have no such ambitions. Of course not. You could never hatch a plan in that thick skull of yours. Let me answer your previous question, though. She lifts her head to look up at the sky. The two leaders of our obsidian round table are as inseparable as brothers. As such, his whereabouts should be obvious. Take a good look over there. Meanwhile, up in the Berlin sky, tainted by blood and fire, taking form through the carnage of the capital, was a tremendous... Can I say that? Oh, wait, I already said it earlier, so... Swastika. A man stood atop the towering spire in its center. Attention, men and women of Berlin. Our great lord, monarch of destruction, graces you with his message. Listen to exalted words in silence. Her booming voice echoed in the ears of all living men in the city of Berlin, as if through some sort of sorcery. At that very moment, all soldiers ceased their fighting, all children dried their tears, and all elders stopped their flight. Each and every soul in the city gazed up to the sky, as if possessed. Its deep canopy was tainted by blood and fire of the city below, boiling as it was some sort of cauldron. The Berlin Himmel. On the very day the 1,000-year Reich crumbled to dust, a devil of blinding light descended from the heavens. His locks like a floating mane, golden in color. His regal gaze equally golden. It was the gold of splendor, of brilliance, surpassing creation itself, beauty mingling with heavy solemnity, yet at the same time beastly in hue. A being that should not exist in the realm of man, the harbinger of beguiling light. At his side, a man with features vague and twisting as the darkness of shadows. He was garbed in the plain robes of a hermit, with ambiguous features that made it impossible to discern his age. A yin to his yang, the two of them existed on a level far removed from that of any being gazing up at them. They were the monsters whom even the monsters feared. Number 1 and 13 of the Longinus Dresden Ordnance Obsidian Round Table, its leader and vice commander, brothers and sisters, gazing down at Berlin, no, the entire world, the man of gold began his speech. What if I told you that your entire life had been decided by fate? That victors were born for glory, that the defeated lived only to serve. You live your lives as it has been decided in advance, always reaching the same finale, unable to diverge no matter what happens. What if I told you the universe was woven from such a cruel fabric? If such is truly the case, then hard work is as meaningless as sloth, dreams and prayers equally lacking in value. What if I told you that the grace of the divines, as well as the wrath of the heavens, had already been carved into stone eons before? All of you, those who were labeled as the devil's offspring, were born only to be destroyed, to be downtrodden, to be violated and killed and annihilated despite having committed no sin of your own, nothing more and nothing less. Such is the nature of this detestable cycle, this wretched ghetto, this wretched law. Death brings no release, merely revival, another cycle, another beginning, the beginning of your defeats, your losses, your pain and anguish. And so you will never know anything but eternal suffering and defeat, because you were born for the purpose of shouldering that fate. There is no other outcome for you. Do you not find this infuriating? Do you not wish to turn the tables? The man's grim words reached every soul residing in Berlin. Nothing awaits you but eternal suffering, eternal defeat. The people of Berlin could not deny this claim. The Golden Beast's proclamation rang out with the urgency of the trumpet of the final judgment. This was a man possessed of a supernatural charisma. Utilizing extreme conditions in order to manipulate the wills of others was hardly a novel trick in and of itself, but the sheer scale of this man's performance here warranted deeper scrutiny. His voice possessed a magical quality, capable of penetrating the very hearts of all those who heard it. The best comparison was to the cries of dragons from the Age of Legends. A juggernaut of a voice that would not fail to ensnare any mortal. And the being that possessed it was certainly no mortal. The Golden Beast, the Black Prince, the harbinger of beguiling light, the monarch of destruction, Every word that passed forth from his lips was saturated in magic. He gave the command. If you agree, then fight. If you wish to overcome your miserable lot in life, then offer your very soul. If you wish to liberate yourself from this wretched ghetto known as fate, if you wish to wash away the stigma of the defeated, rise to battle at my side. Take the pen and sign the pact with blood. It was the temptation of the devil himself. The Golden Monarch looked down upon the lesser beings crawling upon the earth and posed a question to them. What do you desire? The answer was all too evident. Grant us victory. Grant us victory. I won't say that line. I understand. Deep fissure ran across the man's perfectly beautiful face. To conjure the words of Dr. Faust, his features portrayed the uncanny equilibrium of a genuine smile and a grotesque sneer. Mephistopheles, the harbinger of beguiling light, the aim of the wicked fiend that grant every man's wish in exchange for his living soul. If such is your desire, then enlist in my legion. The moment those ponderous words left his lips, the unthinkable happened. All men with a gun in their hands took them to their mouths. All those wielding blades thrust them deep into their own chests. Those without armaments plunged themselves into the hellfire still raging around them. Guns roared, steel drank blood, men plunged to their deaths. Suicide unfolded on every street corner. Hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands rushed to their deaths with abnormal haste, their souls being absorbed into the Golden Monarch. It was an insatiable holocaust engulfing the entire capital. This could not have been the first time. He had consumed countless souls in the past. Was this then the final ritual necessary to complete his task? A grand sacrificial altar stained by the blood of soldiers and countrymen who had looked up to him as a savior begging for salvation? In all its grimness, all its cruelty, all its terror, it was beautiful. Ah, how truly tragic. The very citizens who revere you, the very ones who you should protect, are meeting their end by your hands, and you watch it all with grief, with jubilance, imbibing of their essence in order that you may reach still greater heights. My dear friend, the one and only beast I found worthy of respect in the comedy of errors that is my life, allow me a question. How shall you proceed? The shade of man, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke. What is it you desire? A foolish question, truly. To destroy and transcend the law governing this universe. Was it not you who set me on this path? Not to say that I lack any sort of personal interest, of course. And that would be? It concerns the architect of this world. I see, in other words, God, or perhaps the devil. The shade chuckled, its lips widening into a smile. It fills me with utmost joy to have gained such an exquisite pupil. It would seem that you are still the only one who truly understands Evakite. Ah, how splendid. No matter how many times I experience it, I will never tire of this moment. As such, I cannot help but feel a tinge of regret leaving it behind, but... Is it time, Carl? Indeed. And let us leave that name behind. We shall meet again, I'm certain. Half a century shall provide ample time for the completion of the Shambhala in the Orient. My substitute will be there. Feel free to utilize him to supply your men with the entertainment they so crave. Tonight's pack has made your soul powerful beyond comparison. Now that the trial creation of the Ark has been successful, there is little use for this plane until the day of wrath. There's also the matter of Kristoff to deal with. For the sake of guaranteed success, it would perhaps be prudent to leave it to have a few of your vassals accompany you to the other side. Such was my intention all along. I shall take Samuel, Schreiber, and Berlichten with me. Excellent. Not a finer selection to be made, although I doubt anyone apart from those three would be capable of joining you as you are now, in any case. The two men exchanged words in a casual tone, perhaps reminiscent of two chess players contemplating their moves, even as scenery from hell spread out beneath them. It was apparent why the two of them would have been seen as brothers. They shared a certain air of resigned enlightenment, as if they presided from lofty heights lesser beings could not dream of reaching. No tragedy, no comedy, no creation under the sun would move them. Their laughter was no mere sneer, nor their actions merely the result of any frozen heart. Rather, they were worn down by time itself, imbued with the uncanny aura of an ancient sage. Gazing up at the two of them were roughly 10 others in military uniform, standing completely unscathed within the decaying capital of agony that was Berlin. They were the fangs and claws of their golden master, and among them the three mentioned earlier surpassed even the rest. The crimson woman had tears of joy trickling down her face in response to the honor of being chosen by her golden commander. Her loyalty grew fiercer than ever. The silver-haired boy responded with sulk, lamenting the temporary end to his carnage. For the moment, however, he vowed to acquiesce. The somber giant stood silent, seemingly oblivious to all but the shade he fixed his gaze upon. Worry not. Your wish shall be granted soon enough. I would appreciate it if you would not glare at me so forcefully. Spectre of a man grinned, amused with the giant's electrifying gaze, before turning his attention to his golden brother once more. And now we part ways, my beastly companion. Let us pray for mutual success upon our reunion. Nay, I vow to succeed, no matter what. Remaining a mere spectator yields no result. 'Tis a vile habit of yours, Carl. Ah, verily. Then let us make it our vow. The Totenkopf Empire that had waged war against the world had finally met its end. Whether it be true or not, it is an oft-repeated anecdote that Nazi Germany, in possession of some of the world's most advanced technology during this time period, had dabbled in obscene rituals behind the scenes in pursuit of secrets of black magic. What became of the demon brought forth by those experiments and all their diabolical relics? Their whereabouts would remain unknown, assuming they ever truly existed to begin with. And thus ends the prologue to Dies Irae. And so, 6 long decades came and went. November 29th, 2006, Mount Fuji, Aokigahara, Sea of Trees. 3:27 a.m. The entire area was engulfed by crimson flames. A torrent of sheer energy had emerged from a nearby cave, mowing down trees and setting them ablaze. This place was a crevice in the fabric of space, a meeting point for the ley lines which spread across the earth like a net. A lone man emerged from the cave. He wore a rosary and a cassock, signaling his status as a holy member of the cloth. Indeed, the warm smile playing across his lips was what one would expect from a man of God. Yet could a man appearing in a place like this in the dead of night, emerging alongside an inferno, truly be a servant of the divine? And kneeling before him in servitude was a young woman with jet black hair. Her skin color and features clearly identified her as a native of this land. She spoke reverently, her face as expressionless as that of a statue. Pardon my rudeness, Valeria Trifa, your eminence, the divine vessel, and substitute to the Lord Commander himself. I have summoned you here of my own volition. Need I introduce myself? That will not be necessary. I remember you very well, Leonhardt. You were but a child when you took Lady Kirschen's place, but I see you've grown to be beautiful and powerful. I am not worthy of such praise. Unpleasant moan could be heard echoing throughout the area. They were likely the souls of the men and women that had taken their own lives within this forest. The young woman paid them no heed, even as they continued to make their presence known. The priest, in contrast, inhaled them all with affection, making them his own. A blasphemous scene, an affront to all that was just. It was identical to the events of Berlin 61 years prior. Was this perhaps a continuation of what had begun that night? A priest with a voice that sang each word, before him a young woman offering nothing but the humblest of words. They exchanged a few greetings, but nothing of note. Trifles such as how the priest had traveled from the other side of the earth by traversing its ley lines, and how the girl had altered her original path in order to lead him here. Apologies and explanations for her impudent actions, as well as the reason why the priest could not possibly journey there at the present time. All those were of secondary importance, unnecessary to discuss here. There was but one thing of value. Well then, shall we continue our holy crusade? That one crucial point, and that alone. That they were prepared to finally unveil to the world the supreme performance they had spent so many moons preparing. Now then, may the curtain of the grand guignol rise. Slaughter, butcher, massacre, till no more is left. Violate, conquer, and consecrate. Let there be victory, let there be conquest, and thus, it is the will of God, my honor is loyalty. They would repeat their struggles as many times as necessary. They would continue fighting to the very limits of time itself. They had sworn to do so, and so they were bound to carry out this task. The young woman's recital of the oath of their holy crusade was met by the priest's own blessing. And so on that night, in the forest, The legion that had vowed to destroy the world began to stir, unbeknownst to any. I'm gonna turn the volume up for the intro. I think this is gonna be good. And then I had my attitude ruined by Stream Boo of all things. God damn it. Thank you, Themos. Well, this was supposed to be a short stream, and I'm cutting it close, so I think I'm just gonna end it here. But I think anyone who was here can agree this is going to be a pretty great visual novel. I love how they describe everything. It's so beautifully worded. So, dude, I want to remind you that that was the prologue, and those are the antagonists of the games. We're not cheering for the Germans. I don't know if I should have made that clear. We are cheering against the Germans. Did you not see the whole thing in the intro where, like, the guy with blue hair was, like, fighting the golden-haired guy? That blue-haired guy is the main character. Either way. I'm not talking about, like, at the beginning of the stream. I'm talking about, like, literally, like, 2 minutes ago. Anyways. Wherever you are, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are. I wish you well, and I love you guys. Bye-bye.